Again, Dad, how many times have we said on the podcast last season, especially when Ben Davies did have that cover for us on the Exeter game after the Shrewsbury game, having a left-footed centre-half gives the team... It's not just a centre-half, it's the spine of the team, and it just gives it so much more balance.
Yeah, it makes a massive difference.
Yeah,
it does make a massive difference.
So welcome back to BCFC Royal Blue, and today we're back with another transfer video, and Birmingham City have managed to secure a season-long loan for Eiran Cashin from Brighton and Hove Albion. Now, he only moved from Derby County in the January before for big money, but we're looking forward to seeing what he has to offer. And me and Dad have spoken regularly about that left-footed, left side of centre-half, offering the Blues last season that more stability, that more security. So interesting to see what he offers us this season at Birmingham City. So, Dad, good transfer?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's one that, as you mentioned, it's that fabled left-footed centre-half, and they're about as rare as rocking horse poo, aren't they? You know, to get a balanced back line, you do need a left-footed centre half. As we know, last season we had Ben Davies, and we all thought that we would go back in for him. But clearly, this is an alternative, and I think a good one. And we know that he spent his early career 10 years at Derby County, right through their youth system, before we made that big move to Brighton, as you mentioned, Matt. And
8 million.
8 or 9 million. I think I'd read somewhere that it was big money. Yeah. But I think there was a lot of interest in him because he showed lots and lots of potential at Derby. And I think he was always going to be a top player. But of course, he's gone to Brighton, and they've had a few months to look at him. I think it's tough for a player to go to a team, particularly a Premier League team in January, particularly a player that's coming from the Championship, because at that level you've got established players, haven't you, Premier League players. So to break in is difficult. And I think what they've probably done, Brighton, is realise that probably have got a good player on our hands, but he needs more experience, so we'll send him out on loan. I know there's a lot of clubs in for him, so I'm pleased we've got him.
They're a strong club right now. They're a well-established Premier League team. They've been up there for a good amount of years now. They've got an incredible youth academy system. They got Mark Leonard from Brighton. There's a couple of other youngsters that have came from there. What I like about Brighton, they have a really good system of buying players quite cheap and selling them quite high. Yeah. I think they've got a really good business model. I don't know what their ins and outs and their financial position is, but on paper, and just from reading social media, they seem to do very good business, don't they?
Particularly Chelsea.
Yeah, exactly. They're kind of Chelsea's feeder club. I mean, the big one to me that comes to mind is Casado. It's like 100 million.
Yeah, over 100 million.
Over 100 million. But just proving the point that Brighton was always going to be a difficult team to break into. But a good starting point, Dad, to figure out what a player's going to give you and their reputation is, I look at what the fans say of previous clubs. So, of course, naturally, I went to Derby's page and I saw some Derby comments off the back of when we announced Eiran a little bit earlier today, when this goes out maybe yesterday. But they're very complimentary. They said his passing range is outstanding. He's very comfortable on the ball. His ability to read the game is second to none. Great in the air, and gives his all really good sort of captain-based material. And the comments were overwhelmingly positive from Derby County supporters. So, again, from what I'm reading on social, from the clips I've seen, from everything from my research tells me that, again, we've got a real player here. And again, Dad, sorry to interrupt, I know you're going to come in there, but begs the question now, what does our centre-half lineup look like against Ipswich on the first game of the season?
Well, the thing is, it's to be a good side and to be a competitive side and to be consistent, you need a strong squad. Now, we know for a fact there is absolutely no way in the world that Christophe Klater and Phil Neumann are going to go for the whole season without missing a game. They're going to pick up bookings, and both of them are prone to bookings. There's going to be injuries, there's going to be suspensions, and there may even be games where we need a left-sided centre-half. So I think he's going to get a fair bit of game time here. And it's easy to look at the centre-half pairing, and we know that they've been tagged as the brick wall, haven't they, of Clara and Neumann. But this is a squad game, and I see the way Chris Davies will use Eiran as in quite a lot of different situations, notwithstanding obviously suspensions and injuries, etc., which will happen anyway. So it just adds that depth of squad. And I think as well, unfortunately, not unfortunately, because I think that would be disrespectful to him, because I think he's a good signing. It does end, I believe, the interest in Ben Davies. I don't see us going back in for Ben Davies because do we need a second left-sided centre half now? Probably not. And let's hypothetically say that we would go and get Ben Davies. When would he play?
Yeah.
Why would he come to us now? Because he knows that we've signed Eiran Cashin. So
also, Dad, younger.
Yeah, he's 23, man. I think it's a great age.
Yeah.
When I saw did you see his interview on?
I did, yeah. He speaks
Sky?
really well,
He
doesn't he?
speaks really well, but I looked at him, I thought he's definitely Grant Hanley's son. when you look at him, he looks like a spitting image of Grant Hanley, you know. But he's very well spoken, and for such a young player as well, he comes across as quite experienced as well,
does.
you know. So and he talked in that interview about his leadership qualities and what he wants to do for the team. He's 6 foot, so he's not going to be the tallest centre half, but that's good enough.
It's a good height.
That's good enough. 6 foot, 6 foot, good. So I mean, you mentioned some of his qualities, and obviously we do look at his strengths as a player. Aerial ability, again, despite what I've read, despite not being the tallest of centre halves, he's got a good leap on him.
Yeah.
So he can actually sort of gain height. So that's around about 6 foot, which is what is good. But he's good at his aerial ability. He's got good defensive instinct as well and awareness, so he can read the game pretty well. And he's quite composed. And one thing that comes up in all of the research is this leadership quality. Now, for a young lad, that's a really good thing to have because you do need leaders on the pitch. He's going to be alongside Clara, who we know is a leader. We haven't seen Phil Neumann in a competitive match yet, but what we've read about
comes
him
across like a leader, though, like dominant atmosphere,
yes,
a bit of an alpha male kind of, that kind of aggression.
Exactly, which is what you want, isn't it? He has got ball playing ability as well, so which will suit Chris Davies down to the ground. Presumably, why we've gone for him because Chris Davies likes the whole team to play football. You know, we're not the team now that will hoof the ball anymore. So he can play the ball, and he's got a bit of aggression about him as well, which is something that you want to see in a centre half. And he's a fierce competitor. You know, he likes to win. He likes his challenges. So every attribute there is what you'd want in a centre half. Also, as well, there are a few weaknesses, as there are with every team. But the weaknesses that I've picked up when I've looked at other research I'd done on previous defenders that we'd signed, and they all seem to have the same type of weaknesses.
Pace
is one of them.
But centre halves, just unless you hit the elite Champions League international level, they're not genuinely pretty pacey. You look at Van Dijk at Liverpool, or one of the Sergio Ramos in his heyday. They were rapid, but they were Champions League kind of players. A lot of centre halves, Championship and below, they can't have the pace. You can't have everything, can you? Unless you hit at the elite level.
You'd want everything in a player. But pace is something that he's not the quickest. It doesn't mean he's slow. He's just not the quickest. And of course, frontline players for most teams are pacey anyway. So centre halves are going to seem slow because they're up against very, very fast players, aren't they?
Centre halves are more physical.
Yeah,
they're
which
more
is
stocky.
I think with the centre half, I don't know about you, Matt. If you haven't got the pace, then it's about position and then it's about timing. Exactly. If you get them right, it doesn't matter what pace the other ones have got because you can break that up, can't you? Marking as well. There have been occasions when he's been slightly caught out, but then you tell me defender that hasn't. And these are just general as well. And he is prone to the odd risky pass, but again, what defender isn't, And also we know as well, the way the modern game has evolved now as well, the teams, the front lines will press, and there are going to be occasions where they're going to put under a lot of pressure, so they are going to do risky passes. But none of those weaknesses really worry me, to be honest, because I could pretty much research most defenders, and they would all pretty much come up with the same types of weaknesses of those.
Until you hit the elite level, and then you do get a little bit more of a rounded package at centre half. But you can. Those players want 300, 500 grand a week. You're hitting a completely different threshold.
And probably costing 30 to 40 million pounds. So we're not quite there yet.
No, exactly.
So we have to accept that that there are going to be a few flaws in these players. But overall, he is considered as a bit of an all-round centre back. So I think he to me, the research he fit in perfectly.
Yeah. It's funny that you've said that his negative was pace, but one of his biggest attributes was positioning, and then that kind of, as you say, if you've got a centre half with good positioning, you don't have to necessarily worry or lean on your pace as much. And that was a huge thing that came out from my research as well, is that his positioning is absolutely outstanding. So often that gets him out of a pickle in and of those scenarios anyway. One more negative for me was sometimes when it's in terms of agility. So, when it comes into like a bit of a fast-paced, dynamic game, it's back and forth, kind of end-to-end game. And we're going to get those in the Championship as well. I think there can be a lack of agility, turning from being on attack to defence if it's one of those kind of games. But again, I have no worry with his positioning and his aerial dominance, his composure under pressure, that he'll be absolutely fine. And that's, what I like about him, Dad, is he looks like he's going to fit really well into Chris Davies' vision. He looks like he's going to fit well into the team. I saw his interview. He said he knows a few of the players behind the scenes. He knows a few of the coaches. He even said on one of his videos recently where he's doing Keep You Up, it was like a fast round questions. He said, "What was your message to the fans?" He basically said, "Strap in." Because it's going to be, I can't remember the second half, but it was basically strap in, it's going to be a great season or something like that. So he's saying all the right things. He comes across well. And I mean, there's no point in me repeating a lot of the positive days. You've kind of gone through them all, but I will do the highlight reel, just positioning, aerial dominance, composure under pressure, got great long balls and vision, and comfortable in possession. So again, I'm just reiterating what you've said really off the back of that. So I have no doubt this is going to be a fantastic signing. He fits well in with the vision, fits in well with the team. As you said, I can see not rotation in a negative way, but I can just see a lot of movement in that centre half position as the season goes on. You say cup games, injury, suspension.
It's what you want, Matt, isn't it? Because, like, if Neumann or Clara got injured, you'd want a player like him available. Or if he establishes himself in the front two, you'd want a player like Neumann or Clara. I mean, they're a good three, aren't they?
Three. You'll be changing formation again.
Well,
a lot of Blues fans again have said, imagine a three at the back with those three tucked in as the three, and then you have the wing backs.
It would work a treat, particularly with a left-sided centre half. Now it would work perfectly, wouldn't it? But as we mentioned before, Matt, I can't see Chris Davies.
So what would you have? Would you have Eiran on the left, Clara in the middle, and Neumann on the right? Do you think that would be, if there was a three at the back, that would arguably be the three in position?
Yeah, I think so. But you could interchange Clara and Neumann because either of them could play on that right, couldn't they? But obviously, being the left-footed, he would definitely be the left-sided choice, wouldn't he, as well?
But again, Dad, how many times have we said on the podcast last season, especially when Ben Davies did have that cover for us on the Exeter game after the Shrewsbury game, having a left-footed centre-half gives the team... It's not just a centre-half, it's the spine of the team, and it just gives it so much more balance.
Yeah, it makes a massive difference.
Yeah,
it does make a massive difference because when you've got pacey right wingers and pacey right-footed attackers, to have a left footer to counteract that means that they're not having to adjust their shape to try and match them, aren't they? And this is where players get turned inside out, isn't they? But to have naturally left-footed is absolutely perfect. So again, I think Blues went out for him, and I think a lot of teams wanted him because of his attributes, and we got him, and I'm really pleased about that. You mentioned a few players that he knows. He obviously knows James Beadle, who's also come from Brighton. I'm guessing he probably knows Krystian Beilek when he was at Derby.
Name he said,
so there's a few players there that he knows. He's got just a few stats about him, but he hasn't made many moves. I mean, if you look at his transfer history, it's actually very simple. It's Derby, and then to Brighton. That's it. And I've got Transfer Market is showing a fee of about 10 million here for him.
I read 8 earlier, so we're in the right ballpark.
It's roughly about. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money, but they realise and recognise the potential of him as a player. I think he's come to a good club as well, in as much as Chris Davies will coach him well, and let's not lose sight of the fact he's only 23. So he's still got a lot of learning to do. He's got a bit of experience in the Championship with Derby, which is the first half of last season. So he played 21 games before he got transferred, because this went Derby prior to that were in League One, weren't they?
Yeah.
He did get 1 goal in those 21 games. I don't really look at goals as a metric really for centre halves. I mean, it's nice if they chip in with goals from corners and set pieces, of course.
Unless it's Beilek.
Yeah, yeah.
Because he scores more than the strikers, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Beilek.
In League One, the season before, the full season at Derby, played 44 of the 46 league games, scored 3. Assisted 1, 10 yellow cards, so he's going to be prone to bookings, which I don't really mind too much, to be honest. Now, if you look at obviously he's played 197 games in total across. This is his first team games. This is across Derby. He's only played a couple for Brighton, which I'll talk about in a minute. He's played 197, 13 goals and 6 assists, which is not bad. Derby, he played 144 games for, 6 goals, 2 assists. That's the full team. And at Brighton, he's only played 2 games for. Since he's been there, and so he hasn't had much game time, which I presume why they sent him out. So, as you mentioned, Matt, he went to Brighton in January into the Premier League team, and I've got the game time here. And he literally only 2 games. So he was on the bench for a lot of the games, and he wasn't in the squad for 4 of the games. The only games he's played game time was a 3-0 home defeat against Aston Villa when he had 18 minutes. I presume that's where he possibly came on. And then he only had 1 minute against Brentford, which they also lost that 4-2. So therefore, he's had no game time at all, has he? So it might take him a while to obviously. He reckoned in his interview that he'd had a good pre-season with Brighton. So he's not coming here with a standing start. He's had a pre-season. He'll just need to fit into the team.
It's kind of like Tommy Doyle, Dad. He hasn't played much minutes since January either, and we saw against Seville that he was quite strategically put on and put off at the right time. So I have no doubt the backroom staff know what they're doing.
Just a few final points from me. So he's got most of the experience in League One with Derby, 87 games, 39 games in the Championship in total. and obviously he's had those 2 cameo appearances in the Premier League. His heat map, which you'll see on the screen now, shows the predominance of a left footer. You know, you'll see on the heat map that the left sided in the defensive area is heavily red. That shows obviously and what I've done, I've gone back to his last full season, which is basically 23-24. There's no point in doing a heat map for last season because he only had like 2 cameo appearances in the Premier League and half a season in Championship. So I went back to his last full season. That's what the heat map that you're looking at right now is, the 23-24 season with Derby County. And you can see there it's predominantly red in the defensive half. And also there is a bit of attack in there. So there's a bit of red just on the other side of the halfway line as well in the attacking area, and there's a little bit in the penalty area, which I presume where he'll come up for set pieces, corners, free kicks, etc. For me, Matt, overall, I'm really pleased with this. I mean, I was hoping we were going to get Ben Davies, if I'm honest, but I see this as dare I say, a quality left-footed centre half that would easily fit into any Championship team, in my opinion. So I'm very pleased we got him. I think he'll play a big part in our season, and hopefully we'll start to see him in the blue shirt soon.
I think he's actually similar to Ben Davies, that he's just a bit younger. Like, he even described himself as quite an old-fashioned centre half. And I think Ben Davies is quite an old-fashioned centre half. No nonsense, get rid of it. I'm not messing about. But I think Eiran can play a little bit more comfortably with his feet than what Ben Davies could. Again, I'm not necessarily comparing one against the other. I am just making a point that this is a good transfer. He's got good experience, a good future ahead of him, and I think a very good. I think it shows the intent we're on again, doesn't it? To beat some clubs to get him in, and the fact that he's come in and we're even debating whether he could possibly get into our first team yet. Just with the logistics around our team now and our depth is an incredible conversation in and of itself, isn't it?
Finally, I just think it's a straight loan as well. I understand there's no option to buy.
No, there's not.
So it's literally a straight loan. But if we can get a good season out of him, then it'll be good for him, good for us. So everybody wins.
Absolutely. But as always, Blue supporters, we would love to hear from you. Please let us know your thoughts in the comments section below. And if you like this video, don't forget to give us a thumbs up and check us out on our social media channels. We have an X page, we have an Instagram page, and we're also over on Spotify, so you can listen and watch us over there. And if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel and press that bell notification to get notified every time we post. And myself and Dad will see you on the next one, all about Birmingham City.